Hello there, friends. So I like doing Instagram stories as much as the next guy, but I am not very good at them. However, my friend Caleb is. So let's talk to Caleb about Instagram stories.
Roll intro.
I don't have an intro.
Oh, okay.
All right, Caleb. So your Instagram stories are phenomenal. Walk me through, why do you use Instagram stories?
Okay, so
Hold up. Sorry. Caleb is a videographer, and he is really, really good at what he does. And he uses Instagram stories often to show what he does. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so why do you use Instagram stories?
Basically, while I'm in school, it's my way of making, I see all these other people making like these 10-minute vlogs, and, I can't do that while I'm in school, or at least I don't want to.
You're not good enough.
No, I just don't have the time to put in that much time. So Instagram stories is basically like, okay, you know what? 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I can do that. So, and what I originally started off as like, I'm going to do this every day.
Yeah.
15 seconds turned into more of like I'm going to do this when I feel like it and when I actually have something to present. So it was just like, okay, this is something that people don't put effort into. And it's always the moments where if you put a little bit of effort into something where no one else is putting effort into it, people notice it.
Yeah.
So if I were to produce the same quality content that I do for my Instagram stories and post it on YouTube or Vimeo, I'd get a whole bunch of comments saying, this sucks. It doesn't look good because it's not professional. Like it's not that top-notch stuff. And it's, of course, because I don't spend that much time on them. I mean, granted, I still spend I have spent 10 hours on an Instagram story before. So, so I spend time on it, but that way people, compared to everything else that people post on Instagram, people also see this and they go, wow, it's so good. And it's like, well, really, it's just better than everything else there.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm moving a little bit closer to you this way for the crop, so you can be nice and close.
Hashtag vertical video.
Hashtag
horizontal.
Okay, so the biggest thing with Instagram stories, which has been the big shift, is that I'm not sure if you've seen Instagram stories because you might have been living under a rock. That it's vertical, and a lot of people, what they've been doing is they've been taking their photos. Let's say if you're a photographer, and just telling people to tilt your phone, or if you're a videographer, they'll do a first story saying like tilt your phone. Do you do that? Why or why not?
No, I don't do that, and just because it's more of just this is the way something's designed, and when you go against that, then people tune out. And so it's on Instagram and Instagram stories, it's so easy to swipe or tap through your stories, so you don't want to do anything that removes people from your stories. So saying, hey, now here's another step. Like, it's hard enough to get people to watch your story, let alone do something to watch your story. So,
right? And I think, too, even the biggest thing is that people say, okay, well, vertical video is going to kill the cinematographer. Okay, sure, maybe, but I want people to see my stuff. So I want to create as little friction as possible. Yeah. Basically, just piggybacking off what Caleb said right there. I want to create as little friction as possible for people to watch my stuff. And if that means I have to shoot vertical video and the cinematography isn't as beautiful as it would normally be, okay, fine. I honestly don't care because I want to create cool content that people enjoy, because I'm not creating for myself in those times. I mean, sometimes I am, sure, but most of the time I'm creating for an audience. Therefore, I want to make sure that I'm creating for the platform. Now, Caleb.
That makes sense. I echo that.
Okay, so you talked about why you do them. How do you do them? Like, is there like any tips and tricks that you can give other people about creating Instagram? For example, like the stuff you're showing, like you've done like really cool transitions, or what are simple tricks that somebody can do even if they just have like an iPhone?
I shoot a lot of my Instagram stories on an iPhone.
Which iPhone?
It's the iPhone 10, but you don't need a great iPhone to make great Instagram stories. Like, portrait mode for video doesn't exist yet, so that's not going to get you anything specifically regarding video for Instagram stories. Often I'll shoot it with my camera just because I'm like, hey, I paid a lot of money for this, so I better use it. But weird workaround that you have to do to get a vertical video in iMovie. So you have to make a horizontal video timeline, import the video in vertical, but you're still getting the full horizontal feed. but then you have a vertical video, and then you just export it like 4K or 8K or whatever. That way you have a lot of resolution in that middle portion, and then you have a full video that you can crop into regular size. It's weird. But there's an app called Cameo that's made by the fine people at Vimeo, and it's supposed to be real easy to just, it's a basic editor, so you're not getting like anything too crazy, but like you can chop together things. And I've made many Instagram stories through iMovie or through editors on the phone. It's just, if you need to make something right away, and usually I publish stories the next day or 2 days later, so it's not actually same day stuff. But if I need to get something out that day, like if I'm on set and I'm like, oh, I need a quick edit of what I'm doing, then I'll piece it together through something like that.
Another thing that I've seen Caleb do that he's neglected to mention, but I've also done too, is so if you're using your iPhone, what you can do is it's called like, what is it, cutting into the scene, cutting into, like when you're moving. Basically, so let's say like I'm outside and I want to go from one spot to the next. I want it to be a really cool, smooth transition. What I can do is like almost like you shake your phone or almost like something like that. This way, like you see it because it's like the sky, like with the sky in the background, because it's gonna be blue. And then the next clip, you also start kind of by shaking it this way. It feels like it's all like one smooth, foul swoop. And then all of a sudden you're from one spot to the next in the next Instagram story. But it seemed really smooth, and it's a really cool transition that you'll see you can do with just your iPhone, and then people who have like big fancy cameras can do on theirs. I mean, obviously, it's going to look maybe a bit better if you're using professional cameras, editing software, all that stuff. But honestly, if you're good, your iPhone can be pretty dope, man. Pretty dope.
Yeah, follow up with that. Yeah, there's a lot of in-camera transitions that you can do, and some people, when they try to make Instagram stories, they go way overboard with this. So don't make every transition I need to swoop in and then go to black and then come back from something black, and it's like, it gets disorienting going through everything. Like, only use this like once or twice in a story. Like, it's cool enough to see once, and then once you see it a second time, you're like, I've seen this already. Like, I didn't need to see that again. But yeah, like, often I'll be, if I'm making an Instagram story, I'll be filming this, and then people are like, what are you doing? Because I'll be, filming and then be doing this. But I have to do it like a couple times because I'm trying to get like a cool, okay, so I'm gonna see this thing and then like just shake out of it into something else, in which I'd have to take another shot of something where I'd be like, okay, now I want to take a shot of that mirror, and I'd be like, and then I shake into that. So it's just like a cool, if you do it right. So that's something. Often if I'm talking about myself, I'm just going to use I actually pull up the camera here. If I'm talking to myself, I'll be doing something super highly animated, and I'm like, all right, let's dive into that, or let's go, and then I'll even make the sound effect with my mouth, like, or just, what's up, Caleb here, this is what we're doing, and it gets like a cool, I don't know, it catches interest when all of a sudden it's like, it's black, whoa, there you are, back into, you can get some cool stuff like that.
So don't use too many transitions because you'll disorient people, or do if you do want to disorient people. It's your choice. It's your call. Okay, but the last thing is let's talk about length of Instagram stories, because it's not about length. It's all about the content that's in it. Yeah. So let's talk about length of Instagram stories. How long would you say is the optimal Instagram story for showing, let's say, your day or something you did, or you were on set, so you want to show that you were on set and you want to show the cool stuff that's going on, or let's say you're at school and you're trying to show the crazy day you've had at school or you're getting ready. How many of those stories should you post before you think people start falling off, or that just tell the story in a concise way that's still lots of content?
Right. So I don't know if there's an perfect optimal thing. It obviously depends on what you're doing, but I know that when people swipe on your story or they tap next and you're the next one in line and they see 800 little bars up at the top.
Yeah, I get super annoyed. No, don't ever do that, please.
I'm swiping on, like, I'm not even looking at this. I'm not even getting to the second one. Like, so even like any more than 6, and people are like, wow, this is going to take up a lot of my time. Like, this is an investment and I don't know if I'm ready for this. People aren't on Instagram to watch 2-minute things. They're there just for like quick, get some stuff. So I will spend hours working a 30-second Instagram story down to 15.
Why?
Just, I'm like, what isn't necessary to be in here What can I just like take out that's not
So
like...
what typically isn't necessary then?
Okay, so B-roll shots. People go crazy with B-roll shots.
Sorry, let's define B-roll first, just in case
Right.
anyone doesn't know. B-roll is...
It's anything that's happening over top of something else. So if I'm speaking and then we cut to other video, like, hey, check out the Instagram videos that I make. Let's play them right here while I'm still talking. And you're seeing something else, but you're not seeing me talking. Those would be called B-roll. So just the pretty shots, basically, when the shot of the tree. So all that kind of stuff, like people go crazy with these stuff because they're trying to be cinematic masterpieces with vertical video. And people don't care about cinematography with vertical video. They just care about what content is there and like why are they watching it.
Yeah.
So especially when you need to get someone's attention in the first like half a second. That's the other thing with Instagram stories. You got to get people's attention with something interesting in the first half a second. Otherwise people are swiping on. Like people's attention spans are not quick.
Yeah.
Or people are just going to be really quick to move on.
Yeah.
So first half a second, you got to get something. And if you like in the first half a second, that awesome B-roll shot of the trees with the light coming through so perfectly, like you're like, oh, this is a cinematic masterpiece. That's not the shot to cut at the beginning because people are like, why am I watching this? Right? So get them with like, it's different every time. Get them with like your face, you're saying something that way they want to turn the sound on, and then even just like text over top, like, I'm gonna do a backflip. That way when people see the word backflip, they're like, oh, I'll watch this.
Makes sense.
Not that you have to do backflips every time, but
I will say this about not having the stories too terribly long. I think it also depends on what you're doing. Like, if does it call for it? For example, like in like the new like ask me a question things on here on Instagram. I got a bunch of questions and I answered majority of them, probably like 97% of them. It was a ridiculously long Instagram story. Like it had like the 800 little things that I think a lot of people get annoyed with. But unlike when I've done that before and there's just a massive drop off like almost immediately, because it was me answering questions and honestly it was a really, really, really high engagement rate. Like there was a lot of views on those stories compared to other ones. And I think it's just because people are nosy. People want to know what you have to say. Even if you don't think people care about what you have to say, they do. Maybe it's not because they actually like you. Maybe it's just because they're nosy. But hey, a view is a view. Am I right?
yeah, especially when you got ads on them.
There you go.
A view is a view.
A view is a view is a view. All right, so we're gonna wrap up. We actually had to leave because I had to do some stuff, and then we got ice cream. So that's why we got ice cream now.
I got a donut.
To wrap it up, number one, you gotta know why you're doing Instagram stories. So Caleb, quick recap, quick story. Why are you doing Instagram stories?
Yeah, so it's important to know like why you're making Instagram stories, because if you're just putting time into these things and you don't actually have a purpose for them, then focus on doing something else that's actually gonna like do something for your personal brand, for your business, for life, whatever, unless you really enjoy it. If you really enjoy it, then make them. So when I originally started off, it was just for fun, and then I realized like, why am I making these? Like, why do I continue to make them? And so it's actually become like a selling point for me, in the sense that when you keep posting things that people like almost any time that I'm in a conversation where I meet someone new, where someone else is introducing me, is like, oh, hey, by the way, this is Caleb Dortono, meet each other. Caleb makes awesome Instagram stories. Like that's
true.
Many times it's been like the one thing where it's like, no, it's not, oh, Caleb's a wedding videographer. Like people don't plug that. People don't plug what you normally do. But when it's like, boom, he makes cool Instagram stories.
I have definitely introduced Caleb as somebody who makes cool Instagram stories because I don't like him as a friend. I just like his Instagram stories.
Exactly. So when you want to make friends, you just anyways. And even it's become like I have gotten bookings from my Instagram stories. Like I just met someone this weekend, talking to her, and after a while of talking, I mentioned that I was a wedding videographer, and she was like, oh yeah, no, I already know that. I like creep your Instagram, and I love your stories. They're so cool. I'm like, sweet. Like I don't even have to mention what I do or have to, differentiate. Like, boom, they know, and they've already checked it out, which is super cool. I booked a super 8mm engagement session based off of my Instagram stories. A couple went to my website, found me on page 2 of Google, so I gotta improve SEO things. But then checked out my Instagram, which was linked to it. It's just my personal Instagram, but they liked the upbeat, fun vibe of my Instagram stories. And they're like, sweet, let's contact this guy because we'd like to have him at our engagement shoot. Like, Instagram stories can sell some. Everyone wants to go viral, but to go viral, like, everyone wants word of mouth, everyone wants viral, but you gotta do the things that, like, are worth talking about.
Yeah.
Right? So
100%.
everyone's putting the
You
same
already talked
story.
about make something being worth talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone else is putting out the same crap stories. So it's like,
Such as me. It's just me talking. And that's why we're doing this, because he's cooler than I.
so put out like something cool, and then people will talk about it. But if you're not doing something different, if you're just doing the same thing as everyone else is doing for stories, you're just posting photos of your feet and your dog and your food and where you are and the meetings that you're in, then that's the same as everyone else.
100%. There you have it. So know your why, because that's super important. Make sure you're doing it because you love it. Number 2, make sure you're shooting vertical video, not horizontal. Number 3, I'm not quite sure what number 3 is, but by the end of this, you've watched the video, so hopefully you've taken something from it. Anyways, we've got to go because it's gone way over time, and I have an appointment. So we will see you later.
Bye. I don't know why I did that. That was the worst outro that I've ever